And good morning and welcome. It's always a pleasure for me to have Karen Onen with me. She is from the East Central Regional Development Commission. Under that heading, she does transportation, which is kind of another faction of that whole thing. But Karen comes in and gets us caught up on transportation concerns. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Robin. It's great to be here again.
I appreciate it. And I know we have a guest this morning. Would you like to introduce Michelle, please?
Yes, we're really lucky to have today Michelle Lichtig from the Office of Transit and Active Transportation at MnDOT, and she's our project manager. And she works with all of the RTCCs throughout the state. Hi, Michelle.
Well, good morning.
Want to do a little bit of a background on yourself?
Sure. I have been involved in home and community-based services. And so what that means is that I've been involved in organizations that have been trying to support people to live their best life within the community rather than perhaps having to go to assisted living, nursing home type situations, or perhaps no longer being able to live in their own home and independently as they would like to. So in that role, I've been directing volunteer driver programs. I've been involved in public health, making sure that not only supporting older adults or people with disabilities, but also young families, making sure that they have access to health care. And when you have access to health care, transportation certainly comes as part of it. So transportation is sort of the central part of that ability to live the best life that people really need to live, whether it's to go to home, school, medical appointments, or social types of activities. So it is indeed a deep passion for me. I've had an opportunity to work in the non-metro area of the state through home and community-based services supporting older adults too. So recognizing the unique opportunities and indeed challenges that are faced for those who are living in areas that perhaps they don't have as many transportation options that one may have in the metro area.
Pulling together the RTCCs, the Regional Transportation Coordinating Councils throughout the state. So we started in 2018. So we're working our way forward, and one of the main objectives from the very beginning was to be putting together a mobility management center. And it kind of scared us a little bit because when you talk about a center for that, it means, well, you got a hub, and how are we going to do that? But that has morphed, and the technology that goes along with that, as far as people being able to make their schedules and their plans using their phones, these things are coming along and actually happening down in southwest Minnesota. I would like you to talk a little bit about what is mobility management and why do we need it?
Well, mobility management, when we look at getting from here to there, is a challenge because there are these gaps. And then we kind of look at, well, where are the resources in the community? And then who has to go where and how? So those have always been open-ended questions. But a mobility manager and mobility management pulls those open-ended questions together. Where are all the resources? And in your work, Karen, in East Central, that's been a big part about it, finding out what are all the transportation resources, and then understanding where does everybody need to go and how do they need to go there. And so that coordination part is so unique and distinct in mobility management. So technology can tell us how to get there, but how can we make the best use of what we have is very people-centric. And so we need stakeholders to come in and to help us fill in some of those gaps. Sometimes it might be moving a stop that we may have, or maybe increasing some service hours or some other types of things that can help us really adjust to that mobility management. But those are all the situations that are uncovered and brought together in a coordinated way through mobility management with the leadership of an RTCC, and specifically in your role, Karen, as a mobility manager.
Working with all of the different providers and that opportunity to be able to do that with Timber Trails and TriCap and Arrowhead, bringing them all to the table together. And then currently we have a survey out, and if anybody who's listening would be interested in doing the survey, just need to go to East centraltransit.com. The survey is there. The link for it is there. You could fill it out. And what we're trying to do is find out, where do people need to go further that they're not able to get to currently. So we're trying to fill some of these gaps. Another way of doing it, my phone number is 612-269-4090. You can leave me a message if I don't answer, and I will get you a survey if that's what you need, and I can send it in the mail with a self-addressed stamped envelope along with it.
One of the things that I'd like to talk about in mobility management is that this is how this is defined by the National Center for Mobility Management, NCMM, which is a technical resource through the Federal Transportation Administration. The way that they also look at it, it may not be the great numbers of people that are served, perhaps through mobility management, but we are serving the people that have the greatest need. Mm-hmm. So when we flip that, what we're saying is that when you look at a bell curve, people in the center, probably that high part of that bell curve, they're getting their mobility and their transportation needs met. What we're looking at are the very skinny ends of the curve, people that have very unique challenges to accessing transportation. So sometimes it may be just one or two individuals, where we had a situation in another region where moving a transit stop and then coordinating with another RTCC with their transportation provider allowed two individuals to be able to access their employment. Mm-hmm. Doesn't sound like a big deal. But without that type of coordination, those two individuals would not be able to go to work. It's a very specific way of making sure that the people with the greatest need are getting access to transportation.
Michelle, is there anything else you want to bring up?
We talked about RTCCs. One of the things that I would like to acknowledge is that we have regional transportation coordinating councils in different parts of the state, and they don't work in a silo. They work together. And Karen has been a real leader in making sure that the RTCCs continue to work as a network. It's a real opportunity to learn and exchange best practices. And Karen's leadership in the volunteer driver issues has been well acknowledged among her peers. So East Central is very fortunate to have mobility management and to have the RDC supported.
So I will say again, thank you so much, Karen, for coming in. And Michelle from MnDOT, we appreciate your time today. And this update has been partially funded by our good friends at MnDOT.